Hey guys, welcome to another episode of cedhthelostEP.5. It's just me, Bailey, today. I'm going to talk about how I took Talion the Kindly Lord to two CDH tournaments, one being CDH4, which is run by CDH and Marcus, and then the OCC4 tournament down in Lacey, Washington, where Atlas and the boys are. It's just me today. We had a little bit problem scheduling for one of the episodes we're gonna do, which is okay because life gets in the way sometimes. But I'm gonna talk about what I've learned, the mistakes I made, the deck itself, and yeah. So Talion obviously is a super good card advantage engine, and I like him especially in the command zone because you always have access to it. It's like having a little bit of a baby risk study in the command zone that punishes your opponent's life total. So let's go through the deck list. Creatures. The main one we have to look at is Thassa's Oracle, main win con. With Tainted Pact and Demonic Consultation. That's our main way of winning the game. Backup ways we have like Hullbreaker Horror and Orcish Bowmaster. We can kill the table that way. We have Fimage that can copy like Dark Sides or any of the other things that we needed to copy. Spellseeker, great tutor. Allows you to be able to tutor for certain cards. Oppo, normally I'm not the biggest fan of an opposition agent, but I've recently decided that in tournament play, especially, I need it because Sisay is a hard matchup because unless you have interaction for Sisay every single time, you need a way to answer the tutors. So it's a card I don't like playing because I don't think it's the best, but I think it's a necessary evil. Notion Thief, I never saw it during the tournament. But the idea is One Ring's running around, so you don't really care if there's a Bowmaster out because if you hit someone's 5, you're paying 4 mana to draw 5 cards and stopping your opponent from drawing 5 cards. Which is a very strong ability. Yes, sure, they're gonna hit the Notion Thief, but that's okay because you already drew 5 cards. Is at least my goal with it. And then Gilded Drake, really good. Steal any problem threats like Sisay, Kenrith, Atraxa, whatever it may be, and then you have a 3/3 flyer that they can't swing into you because you have a 3/4 Talion. Fairy Mastermind drew me like 4 or 5 cards that one time I played it. It's also a fairy, so you have like Caverner Soul synergy when you name fairy. And then we have Dothy Voidwalker, touchdown graveyard. It's, it's a really good heat piece. It stops certain Kenrith lines, stops Underworld Breach, stops a lot of really good things that you see in the format right now. Sorceries, we have Beseech the Mirror. I cast it once and it got me a Thassa's Oracle, which won me the game, but other than that, I didn't see the card. But I think it might have to be a necessary evil for the deck because the deck needs the tutors in order to be able to find the win cons. Because the deck has a very hard time presenting a win and getting a win on the board. Demonic Tutor, really good card. You play it. Intent's really good because Talion is a force draw. It says that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. That's a must draw. So you can kill your Talion with the Diabolic Intent, get the other half of your combo, and then present your win. Of course, it gets stopped, but you can't go for a consultation with a Talion on board and your opponent's having open mana. You'll just die because they'll make you draw a card when your library is exiled. Get Probe. It's a card that should probably come out of the deck. Which I think I can probably do right now, actually. Let's go. Um, I don't know. Let's go move to sideboard for right now. Since it should come out of the list. And then Imperial Seal, really good tutor. You put it on top, with Talion, you're probably going to draw it before your next turn, which is really good. Mnemonic Betrayal can win the game. It's a really strong card. I don't get to play it a lot, but when I do, it feels amazing. We're on Toxic Deluge and Yehenia's Expertise. 2 board wipes, 3 to count Cyclonic Rift, but I feel like in a creature meta that I was going into, I needed ways to remove creatures, so I decided on all 3 of them instead of just typically like the Toxic Deluge Psych Rift. And Henny's doesn't kill our boy Talion. Moving on up to Instance, one of the problems that I saw when building Talion is that you have a really bad matchup against control decks. So decks like Kenrith control, uh, Thrasios control decks, any of those, they're gonna outvalue you to the end of the game because they have ways to draw cards other than your opponent's playing the game. So I needed a way to be able to have enough speed to go under them while still having a control package. So we're on Adnaz, with which if we scroll down, we have a 1.4 Adnaz count on average, which is pretty good. That's right in the Adnaz range. You have some higher end stuff, but it's a pretty low curve overall. But with us trying to go faster, we have Born Upon the Wind and Necropotence, and if you come into the lands, we also have Emergence Zone. So we have like the whole Necropotence flash package. I've never got it off. I was fighting for my life to let my Necropotence resolves, and so I had to make deals being like, I'll only draw up to 7 or draw up to 8 cards, exile 1, just because that's what the game needed me to do, which happens. So I didn't get to do the Necropotence thing as much as I wanted to. Cabal Ritual is another card I'm going to move to the sideboard. It should probably come out. Because I put it in there for the Adnaz Necropone stuff, but I'm not going turbo those anymore, or a fast variant at all with when it comes to those, so I don't really need that card. Cycrypt, removal spell, same with Chain of Vapor. Chain of Vapor is good because you can remove your own Talion, sack a land, then bounce a problem card. Deadly Relic and Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual, turn 2 Talion, uh, gets you your turn 1 Necropones, other cards. Deadly Relic, really good removal spell. You're gonna try to get a turn 2 tally in almost every game, or if not, a turn 1. So this is gonna be free majority of the time. Consult, worst card in the deck, but you need to play it because it combos with Oracle really well. Dismember, this card was great. It kills Kenrith, Sisay, just about any creature in the format other than like a Traxa, um, or Tivit, but those cards are hard to remove anyway. Um, but yeah, I was very impressed with Dismember. We play Dispel, Pierce, Fluster, Force of Negation, Force of Will. All really good counter spells. We all know why we all play them. Limdo's Vault. I like this card because it digs you pretty deep for not that much life. For 1 life, you get to look at the top 10 cards, which seems really good. Mana Drain is another counter spell that I probably don't want. I can put another one in there just so we have the ability to interact. Like, I think Stern Scolding has a place, at least in my meta, where there's a lot of Chibnas and Thrasioses. I think it can probably have a pretty nice home in this deck. March, really good removal spell. Misstep, Trap, Miscast. All really good counter spells. We all play them for a certain reason. We all know those reasons. And then we have Muddle the Mixture. Really bad counter spell, but it has Transmute, so it's a tutor, and it gets Thassa's Oracle or Tainted Pact. So it gets either half of the combo, which was really important for the deck. Mystical Tutor. This card's pretty bad in my opinion. I think you still have to play it because it's a tutor. But you either always get interaction, a combo piece, or a tutor. So, but your opponents always know what it is, so they always know what to prepare for. Which is a negative that I have with Mystical Tutor, but you play it still. Pact of Negation, obviously, good card. Hybridization. Kills creatures, gives them a 3/3, but you're playing a 3/4 Italian in the command zone, so they can't really attack you with it. So it's really good. Slaughter Pact is a free removal spell. I really wanted to make sure that if I tapped out for any means, I still have a way to interact with my opponents, which I think the deck did a pretty decent job of doing. Swan Song, obviously good. Chain Impact, WinCon. It's also a fine tutor. Like, going 6 cards deep and finding, like, a counterspell or whatnot, it's fine. You still play it. Vampiric Tutor, obviously, one of the best tutors in the game. You play that. Down to artifacts. We're on Arcane Signet, most of the normal artifacts that you'll see in every deck. We're on Curse Totem and Grafdigger's Cage, as you saw in the sorceries and instance. We're not on any reanimation effects, so we get to take full advantage of this Grafdigger's Cage without it affecting us. Since it's Vining Top, we're in the enchantments, we're up on Counterbalance. So the senseis can even out our draws if we needed to, but also has some cool synergies with counterbalance. The One Ring, obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of the One Ring, but I think it's in this deck it's fine. You're gonna draw a bunch of cards off of it. You're gonna do things with it. You're gonna have a great life. Wishclaw, it's another tutor. One of the things I've been doing is when someone activates a Wishclaw, I'd be like, hey, to give it to me, I won't activate it, just so it's a 3-mana tutor for them, and none of my other opponents get to have that tutor, because having two people tutor is bad for me. Up in the enchantments, we have Black Market Connections. Never saw the card. I put it in for the second tournament. It wasn't in the first tournament, but I didn't see it at all. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. I just don't know. Bloodchief is a good win con. It does pressure life totals, but it didn't win me the game once. They always removed it before it killed them. Is the only negative I've had for it so far. Copy enchantment. I cast it twice. It copied a Ristic Study and then a Steel enchantment on my Ristic Study. So I got my Ristic Study back off of it. I think the card is underplayed and underexplored. So we're trying it out to see if it is good. And so far, the 2 times I've cast it, it felt really good. Counterbalance. I've cast it once. It countered 2 or 3 spells. It did its job. It did its thing. That's all I need out of it. Mystic Remora, obviously. Necro, we already talked about. Ristic Study, best card in the game. Steel Enchantment. I'm playing it to steal Ristic Studies, Fishes, all the other enchantments, but mainly Smothering Tithe. Every time Atlas or any other Kenrith player has resolved a Smothering Tithe, I think I've always seen them win the game. So taking it off of the Kenrith player, I think made it worth a slot in the deck, at least in my opinion. Lands, we're playing 28 of them. Ones we should notice is Urza Saga, so we can go get some hate pieces. Gemstone, obviously, Emergence Zone, and we're on Cephalid. Those are like the 3 utility lands that we're playing. Let's go down into somewhere. Let me find it. View history. Don't know why I'm getting this ad, but no thanks. So obviously the 3 cards we just moved, but we were on Snap, but we put in Steel Enchantment for the second one. We took out Roaming Throne and put in Black Market Connections. And then I think those are the only 2 changes that I did. Yeah, for the tournaments, which is I think they were good calls. Snap I used once, and Roaming Throne, it got wheeled one game, and then no other time it came up, and it wasn't a card I was going to tutor for. So I think these were good additions to at least try out. Steel Enchantment came up, Black Markets didn't, but we'll continue to test. Let's go back to deck list. I want to talk about some of the games. First tournament at cdh4, I had a really good start to the day. Um, Game 1, it was like a turn 6 or 7 protected Thassa's Oracle line against only one other blue deck, so that was really good. I had controlled the game the entire time. Game 2, it was me, Nick Hammond, Atlas, and then a Rayhan Dargo deck that was super sweet. It was on Protean Hulk. They have a win, so we have to let Nick Hammond get a bunch of mana and draw cards with his Kenrith, but he promised he wasn't going to win the game here because that's just king making. So we find an answer. He has 2 extra treasures. He stops the Protean Hulk and then tries to necromancy the Protean Hulk on end step, letting it get sacrificed, putting a trigger on the stack, and then I flash in my Oppo. At which point we all made a few misplays already early on in the game. It was like turn 4. we all decide to a draw. The Rayon Dargo player was out of gas, 0 cards in hand. They did everything to try winning that game. Alice was gonna try a win, but I was gonna stop him, and then I could have attempted a win, but Nick probably stopped me, and then Nick probably ultimately won. So we drew that game. So we're 1 win, 1 draw. We're chilling. And then it goes downhill from that point on. We have a protected win with 2 pieces of interaction plus a tainted pact, as well as the consult. I play my Thoracle. They let it resolve. I cast consultation. Parker interacts. I interact with Parker. Josh interacts. I interact with Josh with an offer you can't refuse. Josh casts. He then lets that resolve, and I cast my Tainted Pact to try winning the game still. And he had 3 mana before the offer, and then with the offer, he hard cast Force of Will to make it so I couldn't win. And then Parker drew his Dockside that I subtlety to the top of his deck, and then won the game from there, which is unfortunate, but I had 3 pieces of interaction. They just had enough to stop me, which happens. And then the next game, I can't remember if I drew or lost the game. I think I lost the game. I don't remember the game. It was a blur. And then the last game, it was me, Alan, Jarrett, and Zur, the Enchanter player. Uh, we let Alan win, which was a feel bad because if we drew, Jarrett probably makes top cut, which we didn't know at the time. But he assembled a time civet line and could kill us both. But time went by, so we should have taken the draw. But the judge already recorded it as an Alan win, so that was a feel bad. But the game was insane. I made a misplay at the end. I could have just passed the turn, let Alan try playing his Grand Abolisher, have the Zer player overload a Psych Rift, and then flash in my Hullbreaker Horror, crack my Emergence Zone, and win off the top of that. But I didn't do that, obviously, because I lost. I cast Hullbreaker at sorcery speed. I get bent over, and yeah, so that was great. That was the end of that tournament. Second tournament down at Lacey, round 1. It's me, Atlas, and then 2 Kinnan players. I have a turn 2 Talion. Atlas clones it. I kill his Talion with a Dismember, and then from that game on, there was one of the Kinnan players basically just only listened to Alice and did whatever Alice told him to do, which is fine. Alice was communicating and trying to make it so he didn't lose the game. Um, and he kind of had both of the Kinnan players like under wraps. Because everything was coming at me, which is fine. I was a threat at the table, but I got a little snippy, which I don't like to do. I try to be a pretty calm player, but I got frustrated because I was just like, guys, you didn't make a game action for yourself since turn 2, basically. Like a Kinnan player cast a elf and a Kinnan on turn 2, and then I don't think they took a game action without confirming with Atlas that that's what they should do. Which was frustrating, but of course it happens. I move on from it, but that put me in a big mental strain because I was fighting my heart out that game. I was like, I can win this, and then Atlas sweet talked his way into a win. And then so game 2, I was in a pretty bad mental spot, but I tried to come back, but it just didn't work. Game 3, I'm like, okay, I can bounce back. We have a pretty good game. We have like 7 pieces of interaction for this Grand Abolisher, but somehow they sneak through the Grand Abolisher and was able to assemble an Underworld Breach win. It was sick to watch. Shout out to that Blue Farm player. They did a really great job. We probably could have played it better as a table as a whole, but shout out to them. And then the last pod was a non-game. I was in the winning in. If I win, I probably make top cut. The third game. I won. It was me, David, David, Tibbet player, the 8-drop Galta, and then a Corvold. I kind of just controlled the game for the most part. I killed Tivit. They didn't have enough mana to recast Tivit. Um, and then I won the game with 2 pieces of protection. And then the fourth game, it was a win-in situation. The other people wanted to draw, and I was like, no, I need to play so I have a chance. And they were like, okay. And then so it was a turn one Draenith. So the Atali player on turn two or on turn one. On turn one was like Blood Moon, which was fine. I had a Monk's Diamond and a basic Swamp. So we're kind of chilling there. And then the Kenrith player has a Chromox that casts Birds of Paradise. And then on turn two, the Atali player plays a Manglehorn and decides that he wants to destroy my Mox Diamond, which is the only way it's giving me blue mana, so the only way I can interact. And I tried reasoning with him, maybe destroy the Chromox so I can still interact with Kenrith, since both of us will have access to our colors. And he was like, no, I think I want to get you off your colors. And I was like, no, you don't. And anyway, he destroyed it. And then Kenrith, who had a green and then a Birds of Paradise, so 2 non-red colors, was able to cast Kenrith the next turn and then start drawing cards and putting counters on things and then just beating us to a pulp for the rest of the game. So we ended up losing that one. So we got 1 win, 3 losses, and then we got 1 win, a draw, and 2 losses at the first tournament. So both on average, but I thought I was going to do better than I did, which is okay. We bounce back. We're going to play a different deck, I think, at Cascade Clash, which I still have to sign up for. But, um, yeah, Shaolin was super fun. I think it's a deck that I will probably come back to at some point, or at least play around with casually. Um, and then, yeah, that's how my tournament went. Um, one of the things that I wrote down was removing the mask off of players. And I think as a community, we have like people that we respect and know are good players, and we value their opinions too high in a sense. Whether it's like I wrote that after the game with Atlas because I was pretty frustrated and steaming. It was like we have to remove the mask, which I was thinking about the from the last week. Like he has so much respect from players that he can kind of tell people what to do, and they're like, oh yeah, that's the correct play. But if we just spend a little more time, remove Atlas from the equation, and be like, okay, this is a Kenrith player. We know how Kenrith players win. It's going to be some kind of convoluted line that probably requires the graveyard, and they're a control deck. They need the game to go long. Just remove players from it. Like, even if I'm at the table and people know I'm a good player, realize what deck I'm playing, how I win, realize that I'm Italian deck that drew a total of 2 extra cards this game. I'm probably not going to be winning the game on my turn. Just because I play Thassa's Oracle Console and Chain Impact doesn't mean I always have it. Majority of the time I don't, and I have to work really hard to get it. Um, but just realizing what decks they're playing, how they win, when they're trying to win, and make sure you look at the board. Don't take everything that me, Atlas, Garrett, any of the other people that you know and respect and value their opinions, just talk you into doing things. Make sure you take a double look. I got in faults of listening to what Alice was doing because I was like, he's a good guy, he's a good Magic player. He's probably right on this one. Um, but take an extra 30 seconds to look at the board. You're a great player. We all know you know how to play the game. That's why you're going to these tournaments to prove that you know what you're doing. Take the time, realize that you're a good Magic player, and make the right decision for what you know. But yeah, that's everything that I got to get off my chest, and that's how my tournament went. It's a shorter episode, but it's just me today, so I want to avoid rambling too long. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, do any of the other things you want to do. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.